Good morning and welcome to Making Peace with Money with your host, Laurie Lamantia, professor, CPO, and prosperity coach. Get ready to master your life and your money, not the other way around. Now, here is your host, Laurie Lamantia.
Good morning and welcome to our show today, where I wanted to talk about this book that I have read and have been reading and really value and appreciate. It's called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And so what I wanted to do today is really go through some of the principles that are in this book and talk about them from our perspective, the perspective of us being prosperity consciousness and the creators of our lives. And the book is written by Harv Eker, E-K-E-R, and it's a really wonderful, it's a book I wish I would have written or would have liked to have written. And it gives us a wonderful juxtaposition of people who think richly versus people who think poorly. The thoughts that the rich and prosperous hold versus the thoughts that the not so well-off, scarcity-minded hold. And to juxtapose those two different approaches to thinking and see how a rich people, or as he puts it, someone with a millionaire mindset thinks. And so I'm kind of wondering, as we go into this, if you would consider yourself someone who thinks like a millionaire or someone who thinks like, someone who's poor. And it's interesting, as we've been talking about through this whole time that we've been together with this show, the part of the creation process, the power of you as a creator, is you aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with where you want to head, with who you choose to be, with how you choose to interact with the world. And so Harv has done a wonderful job articulating that in his perspective. And so that's what we're going to do today, is hear his approach as another look at the way we can approach getting ourselves in what he's calling a millionaire mindset. And I don't think I think that's actually a great thing. Last night in my class at school at DePaul, we were talking about money. We watched the movie Boiler Room, and we talked about the effect that money has and the things that people are willing to do in order to get money. And I think it gives money a bad name on some level, because to this point, a lot of us have been infused and have seen people do smarmy, uncomfortable, I don't want to say unconscious, but some really cruddy things in the name of money. And from my perspective, I think it's given money a bad name. And so here's an opportunity to look at money and look at how we think in a very effective and powerful way. And he starts out with the book talking about these unconscious modeling messages that we've gotten in over our lives. And one of them is, from Hollywood, or, the thought that money's bad, and it shows Gordon Gekko doing despicable things to get money, and all kinds of different mental models out there of how people have approached money. And those become our mental models. So the whole first part of the book, he talks about these files. It's almost like your mind has been a storage system to this point, filing away all these messages, all these files about what money is, about what rich people do, about what poor people do. And there's no right or wrong in this. It's just that we've been filing away these messages in our computer called our brain. And whenever a topic comes up, we go into that file folder and we say, oh, this is what I think about it. And that creates the actions that we take and the experiences we have. So the point really is, and we've made this before here on the show, that those beliefs, unconscious usually, are actually creating and having a strong impact on how you're experiencing money, success, and things that are going on in your life right now. So first of all, of course, the opportunity is to become aware of these files, an awareness of what you learned either from teachers or watching other people's experiences or really your parents, even though we might be, 60 years old, we still have a lot of information that comes in and has come in to us through our parents. And if we don't look at that, that sits there in the unconscious files coming up over and over and over. So really looking at and becoming aware of these messages that we got. And then, of course, understanding the impact that they've had on you to this point. And on some level, understanding helps to tease them out and starts to help you let them go. And that's the opportunity here, is to look at those messages as old and to start to let them go, to start moving away from them, and then filling your mind with new ideas, new thoughts, new approaches. And that's the opportunity here, is to hear these new files, as he calls them, and put those in your data bank and start to believe and feel and experience and know those are true. And he says that we always talk about, we've heard that you got to be in the right place at the right time, that wealth is luck. Becoming rich is about luck. And he doesn't agree with that. He says you need to be the right person in the right place at the right time. And it's like that famous saying goes, luck is really a prepared mind in the right place at the right time. So opportunity favors someone who is prepared, somebody who's put themselves in a place, in a mindset, in a learning situation, and in the place of actually being able to take advantage of the opportunity. So here's an opportunity for you to learn some new thoughts about how you want to think, and this is how rich people think. So he has 17 new, he calls them wealth files, or files that help you think in a new way. And he also has you, at the end of every wealth file, touch your head and say, I have a millionaire mind. And I love it. And after a while, and the way he says it is so cool, but after a while, it's meant to tell you that you're the one who has a millionaire mind. You can think this way. You don't have to just listen to this as a third-party experience while you're doing the laundry or whatever else, but you can actually embrace and take in these new files, these new ideas, and let them become part of your operating procedure, so to speak. It's in your RAM, it's in your computer system, your brain. And the first wealth file that he talks about is, rich people believe that they create their life. I create my life, and I have control over my life and my financial situation. Poor people believe that life just happens to them, and wealth comes pretty much to others, but not me. And here is, wealth file number one. Rich people know that they are the creators of their experience. They are not victims of the system, but actually are people. Rich people, wealthy people, people with a prosperity mindset realize that they have power and they have impact, and this power and this impact is how they get to put their imprint on life, where poor people or people with a scarcity mindset feel like they're victims, they have no choice, they just feel so disempowered. And, the government's going to do stuff, and I have no control. My boss is really in charge of my life. And so that victim mentality is you giving away your power. But a wealth mentality, rich people mentality, is that, no, you don't give away your power. You actually have tremendous power, and you exercise it, meaning you use it. So the next wealth file that he talks about is that rich people play the money game to win, and poor people play the money game on defense. And I think this is really another cool mental model that we can take on. And it's showing how we look at how is the world half empty or half full? Is the glass half empty or half full? And rich people tend to look at the life as half full. The world is their oyster, and they decide to play the money game to win. They really want to have massive wealth. They think it's okay to have money and wealth and success. And they choose to say, and by the way, I am going to make the most of this opportunity and I will win. That is a very different mindset than I have to be on the defense. I am worried about losing my money, and I just want to get by. I just want to have enough to pay the bills and be careful, and not lose my money. Not losing my money could sound a lot like, well, I'm doing the right things. I'm being careful with my money, but that is really, if you can feel in a scarcity mindset, it's coming from the mindset that there's not enough and I need to protect, where a prosperity mindset is there's plenty and I don't need to protect. In fact, all I need to do is apply myself very mindfully and I will play the game to win. And this is one of the things that, we talk a lot about the law of attraction. It seems like we're saying the same thing, but I hope you're feeling and hearing it's very different. It's one thing to play the game to win and know you're going to win. It's another to protect and be on the defense. Because when you're on the defense, you're never driving towards the goal. You're never offending. You're never moving towards what you really want, which is to be rich, to be successful. So I think this is a really cool way to start to juxtapose how millionaires think, how prosperity consciousness flows, and kind of, in some ways, how we can get caught. Because collective consciousness, the stuff you hear on the news, is all about defense. It's all about victim. It's all about, the outside world basically keeping you from your good. And that is just a mindset that you need to let go of. And why not adopt the millionaire mindset? So as we go into the break, spend some time and look at, overall, how have you been thinking about money? Do you feel rich? Have you been thinking like you would think a millionaire thinks? Or do you think millionaires are just, self-centered, jerky people who you don't even want to interact with? That tells you a lot about your willingness to stand in your richness, your willingness. Because if you think millionaires are jerky people you don't want to interact with, why would you want to be one? So it's really powerful to look at how you really think about your success and if you would even allow yourself to have success. Because if you have a negative opinion about it, you wouldn't want it. So, and also as we go into the break, think about, am I growing and educating myself? Am I allowing myself to be the right person so that when I am in the right place at the right time, I can take advantage of the opportunities that are presenting themselves? Because opportunity is always knocking. It's always presenting itself. But we, many times, are not ready for it, so we don't even see it. It just passes us by. So the intention here is, yes, I will be the right person in the right place at the right time. Come back and we'll talk about the other wealth files for being a millionaire mind. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, E-K-E-R. And if you go on the internet, you'll find a whole bunch of things about the wealth file and all the things that we're talking about here. And it's really worth a look at. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this book, is because this book does a wonderful job of giving us the mindsets, the thoughts that we can hold to live more fully in our prosperity consciousness versus give into our scarcity consciousness. And these wealth files that we're talking about, that he writes about, are ways we can reprogram almost our mind to think more like a millionaire, to think more like a rich, prosperous person versus giving in to feeling poor and a victim of the system. And so the next wealth file that he talks about, wealth file number 3, is that rich people are committed to being rich. And they are willing to do and apply themselves to the things that they know will help them be rich. And that poor people want to be rich if you're lucky, or poor people really don't even want to be rich. They just want to get by. And it's fascinating to me when I first felt into this wealth file as I was going through and working through the book, I realized that I wanted to be rich, but I didn't know that I really wanted to commit myself fully to being rich. Because in my mind, just to be honest, I thought that if I really wanted to be rich, I was going to have to put myself in 110%, and therefore the other things that I were valued in my life, like my friends, my relationships, my health, would suffer, because I saw that happen in other people's lives. I saw people be so committed to running their business and being wealthy that their families suffered, their kids suffered, and that was just, this is exactly what Harv is talking about. That's just an old file that I had in my brain about what it took to be rich. And I said, I don't want to give myself away like that. I don't want to give my spiritual pursuits away, my yoga and my commitment to growing as a soul on earth. And then I realized I don't have to give those away. I don't. I can be committed to being rich and have those relationships. And that was so freeing to me to know that I could be rich and have these other things. And I didn't have to just want to be rich or, of course, feel like if I became rich, then I would be a rotten person. So on some level, I didn't even want to be rich. And that's what poor people, I think, people who live in scarcity mentality, they don't even think about. They would like it, they would really like to be rich. Yeah, it would be great to win the lottery. But they're afraid to make that next level of commitment to actually do the things that it takes, put themselves in the right situation, because they're afraid. And, I see this in my students all the time and the people I coach. They're just, deep down, they're afraid. They're afraid of success, or they're afraid of not being successful. So they take themselves out of the game before they even start playing. And rich people would never take themselves out of the game. They're going to throw themselves in, and they're going to be committed to doing what it takes and taking smart risks that will get them there. And the poor people give in to those unconscious messages that it's wrong or negative to be rich, or that fear of failure, or fear of too much work, or losing their health and relationships. So this is your opportunity to really look face to face with yourself and say, am I really committed? Am I okay with being wealthy? And that's an important step here in letting yourself cross over from wanting to be rich to being rich. The next wealth file that he talks about is that rich people think big and poor people think small. And I really could resonate with this one too, how rich people just allow themselves to not put a glass ceiling on what's possible, to not limit themselves. Last night we were talking about money and that only certain people could be millionaires, or only a certain number of people could be millionaires. That's a mindset. That's a limitation that we're putting on ourselves without even realizing it. Rich people think big. I remember the first time I thought about moving past being a millionaire to being a billionaire, which felt so like, oh, that's ridiculous, Lori. You could never be like Warren Buffett. And I'm being honest here. You never know where you're putting your own boundaries on yourself. And my feeling is that wealthy people are willing to think big, and the bigger you think, the more you can allow yourself to think bigger. And poor people, it's that fixed pie mentality where I just want to get by. Their ideas are small. They're not big ideas. And there is something to be said for thinking big, but thinking at the edge of your comfort zone, I think, is the real opportunity to think right at the edge of what you think is possible and push into that versus, going so big that your brain just shuts down and it's like, well, that'll never happen. Think that could happen if. And so give yourself that opportunity to push into thinking big and beyond your comfort zone. The next wealth file that Harv talks about is that rich people focus on opportunities where poor people see obstacles. And this is, again, that abundance mindset, that prosperity mindset that is so wonderful when you can start to embrace it. And we talk about this a lot with when you're starting your own business or entrepreneurs, that the average person sees a problem and they just say it's broken and it can't be fixed and it's a problem that's going to stay there. Entrepreneurs or business people see problems as opportunities for change, for something new to happen. So a rich mindset is, I'm looking at any problem as an opportunity for change, transformation, starting a business, for me to help in moving it from a problem to an opportunity. And poor people, they just see what isn't right. It's that glass half full, empty again. The risks based in fear and what could go wrong. And again, thinking about what could go wrong is like putting cement shoes on yourself. It takes all the juice out of your momentum and puts giant brakes on. It's just your car's zooming along, excited about what could be, and you put that it can't. This won't work. Other people have tried and they failed, and we become, a downer, Debbie Downer, before we even get started. Rich people, they might, if they do get into that mode, they quickly find a way to say, but it's possible, I can, I will, it will happen. So they focus on opportunities where poor people see obstacles. And again, if you're that kind of person, look at something that you're thinking isn't possible and put on your rich mindset and say, what if? Wouldn't it be nice if? Give yourself permission to trust that you can expand into the possibility. The next wealth file 6, is that rich people admire other successful people and poor people resent the rich. And I think this is really powerful, that if you want to know how rich people operate, you're going to have to associate, read, and understand how they work. And that assumption that rich people have done smarmy things in order to get there is really fascinatingly untrue. The more rich people you interact with, I think the more wealthy, the more you're going to see their generosity, their compassion, their willingness to help. There's so much more you can do when you have money. And so it's really a mistake to resent the rich as poor people do, and assume that I don't want to be rich because I don't want to be a dirtbag. I think it's so much more powerful to find rich people who are not dirtbags, find out what they did right, and do more of that. So rich people admire successful people. They don't resent them. And the seventh wealth file is that he talks about is that rich people actually associate with positive, successful people, while poor people associate with negative, unsuccessful people. And so it's that classic, be careful the company you keep. Be careful of who you associate with. Be careful of the friends you choose. The kind of people you hang out with is the kind of people you will become. And so it's so much more powerful to associate with the kinds of people that you aspire to be, that have the qualities, characteristics, mindsets, and approaches that you aspire to be with. And so a lot of times it means shutting off the news. It means not hanging out with the negative friend who just loves to complain, or not watching so much of the stuff that keeps feeding us the old messages. Give yourself permission to understand what success is and then model it and then live it based on somebody else's model. That's why reading biographies about wisdom people is so powerful. I'm routinely reading biographies about Carnegie, about Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Oprah. There's so many wonderful people out there who have figured it out, and they have huge hearts. And that's my criteria is I'm looking for people who have big hearts, who are not only rich but have figured out how to stay in their integrity and expand into their power. And if you choose, you can find them. They're everywhere. They really are. For the one dirtbag that that we see in the movies or we hear about on TV, there's 50, 100, 200 people who are quietly doing the work of the rich and living richly and living the mindset of being rich. And it doesn't mean just monetarily rich to me. It is emotionally rich. They have a prosperity mind and body experience, and that's who I want to learn from. And that's what Harv is saying. Learn from and admire other successful people, and you will be one of them someday, and you will be the one being the model to the next generation, because that's our job. We grow, we learn, we develop, and then we become the mentors and the teachers and the role models for the generations that come after us. So start to develop yourself into the kind of person that you would want other people to look up to. So after the break, we're going to continue. There is 17 more wealth files, so stay tuned. Fascinating stuff. Welcome back, and we're looking at the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by Harv Eker. And Harv has really done a great job of putting 17 principles together about how people with a millionaire mind or rich mindset approach life. And so we're going through his 17 principles, and we're on number 8, which is rich people with a rich mindset, millionaire mind, are willing to promote themselves and their value, where people with a scarcity poor mindset think negatively about selling and promotion. And, this is a great time to ask yourself, how do I really feel about salespeople? How do I really feel about selling? And the thing that comes to mind for most people is that sales is icky. Robert Kiyosaki in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad tells a story about how he was having an interview in Japan with this writer who had an amazing writing ability. She was her background was writing, but she always wanted to have a best-selling book. Well, Robert suggested that she actually goes into selling and learns how to sell and promote herself and get other people excited about her writing and about her work. And she was like, there's no way I am going to become a salesperson and go into sales. I will not stoop that low. I am a writer. And, and his point was, do you see on my books, I'm a best-selling author. It doesn't say I'm a best writer. I'm a best-selling author. He became a great salesperson, and rich people are willing to become great promoters of themselves and their businesses because, of course, they believe in them. They believe in themselves, and they believe in their businesses, where poor people just think negatively about selling and tooting their own horn, If you don't feel good about yourself, why would anybody else feel good about what you're bringing them? So it's kind of that classic thing. People want to associate and purchase that cachet, but they also want to be associated and participating with someone who really believes in what they're sharing. And so you need to be comfortable with promoting yourself and your company, your value, whatever. And rich people are comfortable with that, and poor people are not. The next wealth file 9, is rich people see themselves bigger than their problems, and small people feel smaller than their problems. And I thought this was such a wonderful way of putting how we see ourselves with relation to the things in our lives. Do we feel larger than life? Do we feel that whatever comes our way, we can handle it because we trust in ourselves and we know ourselves as capable? Where poor people feel that they're, again, victims, that a problem comes along and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to do. They become overwhelmed and they disempower themselves. And so it really is a matter of perspective. And it's fascinating to take a problem and just write it on a piece of paper and just look at it like the huge person you are, and you're looking down on this teeny weeny little problem. that's the way we start to move into the space of, I know I can handle it. It's not overwhelming. But poor people overwhelm themselves and take themselves out of the game because their problems seem insurmountable. Rich people never feel that their problems are insurmountable or that they couldn't find help to overcome whatever it is they're in the middle of, because there's tremendous help out there. So if you're in the middle of a problem that seems overwhelming and insurmountable, get some help. Ask some friends. Get on the internet. Talk to people. There is help, and nothing is out of the realm of your being able to handle it. That's what a millionaire prosperity mindset knows. And we've talked, the next wealth file is that rich people are excellent receivers, and poor people are poor receivers. And Harv says that if you were to pick the number one thing that poor people, the reason why they're poor is because they're not good receivers. And you know what? I'd have to agree. That was one of the reasons why we did a show specifically on the art of receiving here, because if you say you want to experience success, you have to be willing to receive success. If you say you want to experience yourself in a new way, you have to be willing to receive yourself in that new way. And so the opportunity here is to teach yourself how to be a good receiver, to be willing to receive, to be open to the things of life coming to you. And, they always say it's better to give than receive. How about it's equally wonderful to be a receiver and a giver? Because if there's somebody out there giving, there needs to be somebody receiving. And what usually poor people do is they say, no, thank you. They say, no, or I can't, or please don't, or you can just feel the energy around them. It feels like somebody's pushing you away. It's a very resistant energy, and that resistance is saying no. And rich people say yes. It's so different, but having a yes mentality versus a no mentality will change your experience of life being able to flow through you versus you pushing it away. The next wealth file, number 11, is that rich people are actually very willing to be paid based on results, where poor people get paid based on time put in. And this is where rich people have learned to leverage themselves, essentially. They've learned to leverage their energy and their skills so that they're getting a larger return on the effort that they put in. And they actually put effort in for a while, and then that effort starts to pay off. They build businesses, they create portfolios, they create passive income. That's all energy put in, and then the experience of it paying off long after you've put the energy in. Where poor people with scarcity, they feel like their only resource is their time, and they keep going to work and they get paid per hour. And that paid per hour thing means you're limited, right? There's only so much time that you can put in. And it's it's not a multiplication effect. 1 hour in equals 1 hour worth of pay. Rich people find out 1 hour in equals days or months or years worth of pay. It's crazy, but it's that cool, and it could be that cool for you. The next wealth file is number 12. Rich people live by the idea of both, where poor people live by the idea of or. And this is one of the things that I think is so powerful. And if you could teach yourself that you can have money and success, you can have them both. You can have health and wealth at the same time. Where many people, we've seen these old models of people being sickly, but then being rich. The classic Scrooge. He's wealthy, but he has no friends. He has no connection. He's loveless. That's a classic tale that we've been taught that if you embrace it, no one's going to say no to it. But why not embrace the anti-Scrooge model? You can have love and tons of friends and tons of love. And I think of Oprah there. I mean, Oprah, people just pour love at her. She is incredibly wealthy in every way. So we don't have to do the Scrooge model. We don't have to do or. We can do both. And rich people live by the idea of abundance and wealth or health or whatever. And poor people give into, I can't. It's or I can have my cake or eat it too, which I don't get it. I get, if I have cake, I want to eat it. And what Harv talks about that too. So ask yourself, how can I have both? The next wealth file is that wealthy people focus on net worth, on their overall worth, versus poor people who focus on income. They were, this working income. And net people see their lives as a giant asset. They see the things, the assets that they've built, and they look at everything in a way that they're building this asset base or this net worth base. And poor people end up looking at how much they make per year, how much they make per hour. And when you're in a make per hour mode, again, you're investing just your time. And your time needs to start paying off in a bigger way. And rich people start to look at their time and how they invest themselves. And we've been talking about this forever on this show. How are you going to invest yourself so that you get a larger return on that life investment? So focus on net worth, this overall value, versus the only value I provide is for my hours that I've put in. The next wealth file is that rich people manage their money well, and poor people mismanage their money well. And this is where I think the Susie Orman work is so powerful. You need to learn how to be a good money manager, a good investor of your time and your money. And where poor people, they don't want to deal with money, they don't like money, they say money is not important, but they know darn well it is. And so they just ignore their money, and they don't do the things that they do to become financially intelligent, to be financially secure, and to be financially smart. And this is really a mistake. Poor people say, I'm going to be a smart financial manager, and they manage their money well, and poor people pretend like, money is an issue, or hope that someday their finances will all straighten themselves out, or they'll win the lottery, and then everything will work out. No. Get smart. Teach yourself how to have good financial intelligence, and then manage your money so that it's working for you and not against you. And that's the next wealth file, which we're going to have to talk about after the break, is that you can learn how to manage your money well. So after the break, we'll talk about how to manage your money well and the last two wealth files. So come back. Hi, and we're going through the wealth files of The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, which is How to Think Like a Millionaire by Harv Eker. And the next wealth file that Harv talks about is wealth file 15, where rich people, millionaires, learn how to have money work hard for them, and poor people work hard for their money. And it's a very different mindset. And I know we've all been taught to work hard, go to school, and then you'll be successful. But that's that or thing. Either I work hard or I'm not successful. And we put that working hard as a constraint. And how do you know if you've worked hard enough? It's so much different to go at it that when I have money, I'm going to have it work hard for me. And rich people learn how to use their money in a way that after they put in the effort to create it, it continues to work for them in investments, in passive income, in business income, and we can all be smart investors, and we can all learn how to invest wisely. And so learn how to have our money work hard for us. So if you are going to agree to the idea of work hard for your money, at least start to have it work hard for you. And of course, Harv talks about why not move from hard work to smart work? Why not start to look, instead of the toiling model, why not the efficiency model of working smart and having the money work smart for you? The next wealth file that Harv talks about is wealth file 16, where he says, rich people act in spite of fear, and poor people let fear stop them. And I think we talked about this prior, but it's really a wonderful point to keep making that, yes, things are going to seem ugly. Things are going to seem impossible or insurmountable. But rich people realize that they're bigger than their problems, and so they keep acting in spite of the fear of looking foolish, the fear of exposing themselves, the fear of trying something and failing, the fear of their friends going, I knew it wasn't going to work out. There's so much stuff that goes on that, we let other people or the outside influences get in the way. And, of course, we're our own worst enemies. And poor people let that stop them in the tracks, but rich people have learned how to walk into the fear and act in spite of the fear. So really powerful notion. And, of course, the question is, where are you letting fear stop you? What can you do to walk right into it and walk through it? And usually when you walk into the fear, it pops instantly. And the last file he talks about is that rich people are constantly in a mode of learning and growing, and poor people think they already know. And it's the classic, well, I went to college, I got done doing what I need to do. I already know what I need to know. I've learned. And rich people realize that there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to grow into. And so they have I want to go from a know-it-all perspective to I want to go to a learn-it-all perspective. Because a know-it-all perspective is it's closed, right? It doesn't want to hear anything new. It doesn't want to try anything new because it thinks it already knows everything. And, of course, like the great song says, the older I get, the more I realize the less I know. So as we grow older, we get exposed to so much more, and we start to realize, wow, there's so much more to know. And that's what makes life exciting, is that growth. But if you come at life and say, I already know that, I know that, and I can't tell you how many teenagers I hear that from, and I'm sure you've heard that too. Oh, here, why don't I try this? Oh, I know that. I have a 4-year-old niece who's like, I know that. I'm like, how could you know that? You're 4. So... But it's that closedness. I don't want to look foolish, so I already know that. And there's nothing worse than closing yourself and saying you already know. And rich people have learned that, and they're willing to expand and say, I want to learn and grow. So here we are, 17 huge new files to put in our mind and really think differently about how we want to think. Can we give ourselves permission to think like a millionaire? So some things that you can do that as next steps is really walk through these 17 new files and put them in action. Don't just listen to this and then, that's nice. Or even if I encourage you, go to the web and download the book. Or he's actually got Millionaire Mind Intensive you can attend. And I haven't attended one, but I'm sure they're very motivating and exciting. But the key is, don't just listen, do something. Choose to realize that you have control over your life and be the creator instead of a victim. Play the money game to win. Decide and commit to being a winner, to being rich. Don't just wish to be rich and then just say, but it's not for me. Commit. You probably heard that saying that, when somebody commits themselves fully, all providence comes to support them. Once you make the commitment to be rich, you will be 100% supported. So commit. Think big. Give yourself permission to not give in to limitations, and problems and obstacles. Think big and focus on the opportunity. And then look and admire people who are successful, associate with positive, successful people, and learn what successful people have done and put that into work into your life. And, of course, be willing, first learn to appreciate and value what you have, and then be willing to tell people about it. And I'll tell you what, this is one of my growth opportunities. I know I've sit here on the radio and I'm talking to you, but I would love to be out there speaking more to more people, telling more people about being prosperous, because I think it's so valuable, and I need to be better at promoting myself so that I can get to more people to share more ideas with them. So here, be willing to appreciate what you are and promote yourself. Rich people are also realize that they're bigger than their problems. They never let the problem overwhelm them, or they certainly look at the problems as smaller that they can handle. People with a wealthy mindset are excellent receivers. They are willing to receive. They've learned how to receive. They're generous, but they're also welcoming. Being welcoming and saying yes is so powerful. And be willing to get out of the putting in time for start to look at that you are willing to get paid on results, that you're willing to put in time and you want to see not just an hourly wage, but your results actually are creating value. And figure out how to get used to having both. Get into an and mentality versus an or mentality. Instead of giving in to the either or, think both. Think and. And of course, rich people really start to learn how to manage their money well. They learn how to have their money work for them, and they are smart money managers. And so act in spite of fear, and act in spite of your fear of doing something wrong with your money. Don't be afraid of losing it. Get financially intelligent and manage it well. And as you constantly are growing and learning, you will, as you start to think prosperously and put yourself in a prosperous mindset, it will sink in. It will sink into your unconscious, and then all of a sudden one day you are going to be the millionaire next door. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.